What is going on? This is Passion for Truth coming at you with another video, and today we're going to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while, but I've kind of kept quiet about it for the time being because for myself, I am not an auto hoaxer, and I don't just assume something is a hoax because it doesn't make sense, you know, for my worldview, right? I'm unlike many truthers because I see so many truthers out there auto-hoaxing everything. Like everything is a stage. Nothing is true. It's all fake, you know, and to an extent, all these events have some kind of fakery to them. But on the flip side of that, they always have a little bit of truth too, in my opinion. But I'm the kind of guy who has to pour through the data. I have to look into these things to an extent where it's almost an obsession before I can even bring forth my own opinion on something. And my channel is nothing but my opinion. I don't think that anything I'm going to say in this video is going to be factual information. I'm going to say that it's going to be a strong opinion based on my observations and the data that I have poured through on the new TX, and I'm abbreviating things and speaking in code here for a reason, on the TX shooting at Cobb Elementary. Okay, put two and two together there. I'm speaking in code. But some new footage came out on this event. I'm going to use that word for lack of a better word. And it's even worse than anybody could have ever imagined. None of this stuff makes any sense. None of it lines up with the narrative that they're giving us that took place on this day. So I was watching, I think it's an over an hour video of literally everything that happened from the time the shooter wrecked his car, but we don't really get to see the car wreck. It's off in the distance from the camera that we're actually viewing it from, so it's hard to tell what actually happened there. We don't necessarily see the guy get out of the truck that he wrecked. You know, the struggle that he had to have gone through after he flipped it, and the fact that he had to be damn Superman to even if you have all the adrenaline in the world, if you've ever been in a serious car accident, especially one where you flip the vehicle, you're not just going to get out and start running like you're damn Superman. It's going to shake you and it's going to rattle you for a little while. That's just my opinion. But we don't get to see any of that in this footage. We don't get to see the actual wreck. It's off in the distance from the camera that we're seeing it from. And all we see is eventually the alleged shooter starts running towards the school. Okay? And then it cuts to the alleged shooter entering the school with a gun, what looks and appears to be an AR-15. And then things just really don't add up. Things just really get crazy from there. And I'm just going to kind of give you my observations, my opinion off of the things that I saw in this video. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a couple of videos underneath this one, so you guys can take a look at it for yourself and come to your own conclusions and see if you have the same opinion that I do. But so the guy enters the school with the gun in hand, and then he starts running back to the back of the school to where we can't see him anymore. But all we start hearing are gunshots. And it does appear like it does sound like about 100 shots were fired, allegedly. But here's where it really gets kind of weird for me. And I understand why some of this stuff was edited out, because there is a dark side to, for instance, if they just let the audio go naturally and we heard the screaming of kids being shot. I understand why they would edit out the sounds of elementary kids screaming, okay? But hear me out. When we're hearing the gunshots in the video, we don't hear anything other than the gunshots. In my personal opinion, if a bunch of kids are being shot at, and this is tough, right? Because we're talking about kids here, and it really just rattles me. It's really hard to even talk about something like this if this is reality. If what they're giving us here is real, then this is serious, guys. This is serious. So I don't want you guys to think that like I am completely making a mockery of this event before I know the facts, and because I'm not, okay? But I'm just giving you some things to think about, because if a bunch of kids are being shot at in this fashion, will we not hear the screams as they're being shot at? What about, shortly after the gunshots? In the video it actually shows, like, you'll see the text come up where the editor of the video comes in and puts an edit note and says sounds of children are edited out. So after each round of shooting, the video is supposedly editing out the audio of the kids actually screaming. Okay? It's just tough to think about, guys. But my question is while the shooter is shooting, how did they edit out the screaming of the kids at that point? Okay? That's number one. That's like one of my first questions. Okay? Number two is the overall integrity of this this police department. Okay? And I'm not going to say the name of the department. I'm not going to say the name of the school because I don't want this video taken down. I don't want this video actually having my whole channel taken down. So, speaking in code here, guys, I'm not going to mention the names of these things. But the integrity of this police department, this was by far, if this was a real event, if this truly happened, and the footage that we are seeing and the lack of action that we are seeing from this police department is unacceptable. And that's saying it is nice as I can. This police department was the most cowardly and from the looks of it, most untrained police department in the history of police departments. Because if you watch the footage, one of the cops actually goes towards the shooter, okay, towards where the gunshots are coming from. And supposedly, he gets shot at. And then you see this cop running away from the shooter, which causes the other law enforcement officers to also run away from the shooter. Now let's think about this for a second. The law enforcement at this point already knows that this is a lone shooter, and he's young. He's acting alone. He's 18 years old. He has no training, no combat training. There's no way this 18-year-old kid had enough combat training to take on a whole law enforcement department by himself. Okay? Not to mention the fact that all of these law enforcement officers in this police department are loaded to the gill with AR-15s themselves and handguns, and they're fully armored in body armor to the T, Like, all these guys are wearing body armor. All of them are carrying high-powered freaking automatic weapons or semi-automatic weapons. And you're going to sit here and tell me that they're going to run away from a lone 18-year-old shooter? This doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me that grown men would act so cowardly and run away from a teenager who is allegedly shooting up a school full of children, brutally murdering a school full of children, and they're going to run away from him? Did they even have 1 day of combat training? Just watch the video and ask yourself that question. Come up with your own conclusion here. Okay? But it gets even crazier as you watch this footage, if you watch it all the way through. The relaxed look on some of these officers as they're supposedly involved in a school shootout is appalling, to say the least. Absolutely appalling. You see these guys on their phone. Like, several times, some of these officers are checking their phone as this is happening. Standing in a relaxed position, like it's just another day. You know what it really looks like to me? It looks like a damn training exercise. It looks like a drill. In my opinion, it looks like they used a drill as footage of this event. That's my opinion. And you know what? It makes a whole lot more sense. It would make a whole lot more sense if that was actually a training exercise. Not to mention, there's a couple other things that just, guys, you got to watch this footage, man. I'm telling you. There's a point where one of the law enforcement officers walks up to a hand sanitizer dispenser on the wall and sanitizes his fucking hands. He sanitizes his hands. Now, they're in the middle of a elementary school shootout. Kids are being brutally murdered. There could be kids in there that have been shot that they could still possibly live if somebody actually gets to them in time to save them. But you've got guys who are on their phone, standing in a relaxed position, sanitizing their motherfucking hands, because germs and dirty hands are something that I'm going to be worried about if I'm in the middle of a damn elementary school shooting. Give me a fucking break. This shit aggravates me. And then, of course, you know, there's a couple of other edits in the video that just don't make sense. They cut out like a whole 15 seconds for whatever reason in this footage. And then at the end, they show and they edit out and they put in like an edit text that the shooter had been shot, but we don't get to see any of that, of course. We don't get to see any of the real juicy details. And there's so many things that don't line up. There's another time when there's an orange clipboard that a guy has in his hands like he's taking notes as all this is going down. Because what they do is they have another little screen that's on there that shows another part of the school where some other law enforcement guys are actually at the door of where the alleged shooter is in the classroom, and they're all standing there all lined up with guns pointing at the door, and one of the guys has an orange clipboard with a white piece of paper like he's taking notes. Looks like it's a damn drill to me. A fucking training exercise. Why else would any of this be taking place? Why would people be standing relaxed? Why would a guy sanitize his fucking hands? Why would people be checking their damn phones? Why? This shit doesn't make sense, guys, and I'm leaning towards the fact that the whole thing was staged. And you know what's crazy is I've got friends in the law enforcement industry that would, for the most part, they agree. Like, none of this shit makes sense, and they'll tell you that no law enforcement or police department anywhere is happy with the outcome of this event and how this police department handled this matter. There's not a damn police department in this country that could justify the lack of action that was taken from this police department. But what's crazy to me is you still got people like that'll ask me, like, how would something like this be staged? How would something like this be staged? Have you looked at the damn data? That might give you some clues as to how it's staged. Have you looked into events like the hook known as Sandy? Speaking in code here, guys. Have you looked into that Connecticut event? Have you poured through that data? Furthermore, look, man, if you can't even get on board with the fact that they lied to you about going to the moon, you know what I mean? The fact that how about September 11, where 2 buildings came down, or actually I should say 3 buildings came down from 2 planes. If you can't figure that stuff out, if you haven't come to the conclusion that they lied to us at every chance and every opportunity they get, if you can't come to any of those realizations, how in the world can I even come close to persuading you that an event like this could be staged and faked? I can't. I've got nothing for you. If you just refuse to see the truth because the truth hurts, I've got nothing for you. You have to be ready for the truth. You have to want the truth. You have to be able to handle the truth in order to accept it. So don't come at me asking like, how could you say something like this could be staged? For crying out loud, man, you still believe you still believe all these things. You got a long journey ahead of you, my friend. So there's nothing that I can do that can help pull the wool over your eyes. That's your own journey. But anywho, I didn't want this video to be too long. Just wanted to kind of give you guys my thoughts on this certain event and how none of it makes sense. And I'm just leaning a certain direction. But like I said, I'm not an auto hoaxer. I'm not going to just sit here and say that the whole thing was 100% a hoax. But I will say with certainty that what they are telling us is absolute bullshit. I'll let you be the judge of that. I'm going to drop the videos underneath this video. With that, take care. God bless. Open your mind. There is truth inside. But be willing to accept that truth when it's presented to you. Don't shut it out simply because it's scary to think about, or not knowing is more comfortable. It's time to get out of your comfort zone. It's time to see that you are being deceived. It's time to wake the fuck up. Time's running out. The clock is ticking. You got to wake up. With that, this is Passive Truth signing out. Till the next video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button below. Peace.